Welcome back. Okay, so far we've been doing a lot in Adobe Photoshop layers, and we're going to start moving quickly through and do a few new things as well as review some of the older ones. So first thing you're going to need to do is create a new document. So we're going to go to File, New. We are going to name this 3C and then Practice. And we are going to set the size at 10 inches by 10 inches. Go ahead and leave the resolution set to 300. Color mode is fine at RGB. Background can be left at white. And notice when we changed our width and our height to 10 inches that our preset automatically went to custom. Next we'll click OK. And our document appears. Look over to the right and we'll see that all we have is a background layer with nothing in it. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a few layers. There are essentially 5 different ways of creating a new layer. The first one is down here at the bottom of the layer panel, and we've seen this one before, where you click the Create a New Layer button. You can also select at the top in the menu, Layer, and then New Fill Layer, New Adjustment Layer, duplicate a layer here, or under New, you can select Layer, Layer from Background, Group, Layer via Copy, etc. Additionally, you can go over to your Layers panel menu in the upper right hand corner and select that. When you select the Layer panel menu, New Layer is the first option at the top of the Layer panel menu. You can also select Command or Control Shift N, and that is a shortcut for creating a new layer. Or if you drag a file from Bridge or your desktop onto your document, a new layer will automatically be created. So multiple ways of creating new layers, and those are covered in more detail on page 82 of your book. Now sometimes Photoshop will create a new layer for you. You don't have to create a layer and then do something within it. And that's the case for if you're going to create shapes, text, etc. If I select the Type tool and go ahead and select the Type tool, font of your choice, let me select pretty basic one here, Calibri Bold. I'm going to set it at 72 points, and let me select a nice pretty color here. Let's go with purple. You can select the font of your choice. It needs to be size 72, and select the color of your choice as well. Once you've done that, select OK, and click anywhere in your document, and we are going to type a saying. And the saying that we're going to create this quote poster, mini quote poster, is going to be a day without sunshine is like, you know, night. Hit enter before you, and before sunshine. And then select your move tool and move your quote into the middle of your document. Go ahead and add a period at the end. And you should have something that looks something like this. Now, add a second type layer. I have one over here on the right from the first time I clicked on the document. I'm going to delete that one. And select my type tool. The shortcut for the type tool is T. I'm going to click down here at the bottom of my document, and I am going to type in the name of the great theologian Steve Martin. Alright, select the name, and I am going to reduce the size of his name down to 30 points. Usually the name of the person whom you are crediting with a quote is smaller. And so I am going to place that in the lower right hand corner below my quote. Now, you need to select the text in your quote, and remember you can do so by clicking and highlighting all of the words in your quote, or you can double click in the thumbnail of your quote layer and left justify the quote. And now drag it over here, and we see that this is starting to look a bit better. Now select the name, Mr. Martin, and do some arranging that's nice and pleasing for you. Be careful, you want to center it as much as possible. Now, you should have something that looks along these lines. Your color may be different, your font may be different, that's fine. The quote up here should be set at a size 72 font, and the credit line is set at 30 points. Now we're going to create a new layer. So I want you to hit Command Shift N. And when you hit Command Shift N, the new layer panel pops up. And within this layer panel, you can name your layer, assign a specific color to the layer, select a blending mode, and adjust the opacity, all within this new layer panel. So we are going to name this layer Gradient. So name it Gradient, and we're going to assign it the color mode, green. Blending mode will be left to normal, and the opacity will be left at 100%. Click OK, and you'll see the gradient layer appears in your layer panel. Drag that layer to right above the background layer. Next, you're going to select the Gradient Color tool. So over here, you probably have the paint bucket selected. Click and hold down and select the Gradient tool. Now what you should see is in the upper left corner up here, you see a gradient using the color that you used for your text. You're going to leave that alone. And you are going to click and drag from the bottom of your document all the way up to the top of your document. And then when you get to the top of your document, you're going to release. And what you'll see is a gradient appears. Once again, let me demonstrate. I selected my gradient color tool over here on the left. It's below the paint bucket tool, if your paint bucket is showing at the top. When I did so, the color that I had selected for my text, the purple color, is utilized up here in the gradient color box. If I click on the drop down menu, I can see some other options that I have for gradients. Remember, when you see this checked pattern, that is showing you where something is transparent. Now I want to leave the purple, and you need to have your gradient color needs to match your text color. Now when I come over, you'll see that my cursor looks like a crosshairs. I am going to line that up at the bottom of my document and drag straight up. I can hold the Shift key to give me a perfectly straight line. Straight up to the top of my document, and I'm going to release, and a gradient is then created. And you look to the right, and my label, gradient, is on that layer. Okay, now I mentioned earlier that the little eye to the left allows you to just select what layers you want to see or not see. When you're printing, you can turn different layers on and off and print different ones to have different ideas to present to a client or to view different options. You can also use the layers panel to rearrange, as we've done previously in 3B and here in 3C. You can click and drag to arrange the layers. Sometimes you also want to be able to duplicate layers, and you can do that a couple of different ways. You can select the layer and right click and select duplicate layer. You can have the layer selected and go up to the layer menu and come down and duplicate the layer there. Or you can go to the layer panel menu and you can select duplicate layer. Additionally, if you have a layer selected and you hit Command or Control J, it will duplicate that layer as well. I'm going to undo that, so Command Z, Control Z undoes the last thing that you did within Photoshop. If you take a look at page 86 in your book, you'll see that there are some different arrange commands that will allow you to move layers around. And you can bring different layers to the foreground or to the background, send to the back, reverse, etc. Bring to the front will move the layer to the top of the layer stack. You do this by using Command Shift and then the right bracket. So select your gradient layer and then select Command or Control Shift and the right bracket, and you'll see that the gradient is now at the top of your layer stack. Now if I want to send it backward, I'm going to move it down back to right above the background stack. I'm going to hit Command Shift and the left bracket key, and it moves it back down. But you can view all of the arrange commands again on page 86 within the book. The only layer that you cannot move around using your different arrange commands is this locked background layer. Now, if you were to unlock the background layer, and again you can do so by double clicking on it, so go ahead and double click the background layer, you'll see that that now is going to become a regular layer, and you can rename it. And so I want you to rename it BG. Leave everything else alone and click OK. So you've renamed that layer BG. Click OK. And now the background layer has become one of your regular layers and is no longer locked. Alright, so quick review. You've got a 10 inch by 10 inch document set to 300 dpi. Using a size 72 font of your choice, you wrote your quote, "A day without sunshine is like, night." Then, on a separate type layer, you wrote Steve Martin, who is the person credited with the quote, so your credit line. And that font size is a size 30 font. You then created a gradient using the color that you had last selected, your foreground color over here, which is the color of your type. And you applied that gradient from the bottom going up to the top, so the color is at the bottom and white is at the top, and that layer is named gradient and was assigned a color. And to see what color you assigned it, you can go up here to sorting and you can select color, and with none selected you see the layers that have no color, and you can go and select green, and we had assigned the gradient layer to the green color. Now I can go back up, select kind, and I don't have any of the kind buttons selected, so all of my layers should be showing. Alright, once again, make sure you have saved this as 3C practice. So you can go File, Save to save all your changes. Go ahead and put those in your Chapter 3 folder. And that concludes this part of Chapter 3.